Hey, it's Omer Azolayi, and today I want to welcome Stormy May. She is an incredible horsewoman, a filmmaker, an author, and a teacher. Her life has become a journey from control to compassionate communication. She began in the inside of the traditional horses world, riding, training, teaching, competing, and judging. Instead of climb the familiar ladder, she was willing to question the ladder itself. Her documentary, The Path of the Horse, follow those questions. It was not only a film about horses, it was a film about human beginning to learn how to listen. A film about leaving behind the need of dominate, the need of performing, and the need to prove. And entering a different space or a different dimension of humility, presence, freedom, and love. Ask a simple question, but a radical one. What if horses is not here to be mistreated? What if the horses is here to be heard? Today, Stormy continue to explore and teach autonomous horsemanship, a way of giving and a being with horses that honors their autonomy, their wisdom, their know, and their right to be fully themselves. Who doesn't want to be himself? In this conversation about horses, but also about us, about the human needs for control, the courage to let go, and the possibility to listen to horses, may help us become more peaceful, honest, and compassionate human beings.
Oh, look at you. Look at that background. I love it.
Close there. Yes. The air conditioner started to do noises. That's not the time for noise.
Right. The other thing is I have a window that I could close that I think might be a good idea. Right back.
I need.
Okay. Well, I guess my connection's okay.
Let's see what I need. I want to know the device. That's the thing when you are traveling.
Say that again.
See? Yeah. No, I just need to find a pen.
Okay.
Yes, I have it. So I will do intro later. I'm just going to ask the question and we'll record it. I think my first question will be a little bit introduction about what are you doing?
Okay.
and we will go from there.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit from your perspective, like what are you came to do here in the world with horses, with people?
What have I come here to do with horses and people in this world? Um, Promote understanding. Really, I have had spent a lifetime with horses and started out with just doing what other people told me to do with them. You know, you brush them and saddle them and bridle them and ride them and do all that. And that was kind of the first half of my life with horses. And then the second half of my life with horses is just listening to the horses. Like, really, if I love them and want the best for them, I need to listen to them. I love how your title is The Path of Listening. It's really the key. And the more I listen to them, starting out with the ones that were screaming, the ones that were the difficult horses. It's like, hey, I don't want to get stronger. I don't want to hurt you. I want to figure this out together. And ending up in a place where I'm really advocating for the autonomy of horses. Let horses be horses. They know very well how to be horses. And the more we can support them in having a living environment where they can fill their own needs, then it frees us to go on and do our own human things. Like there obviously was a time and place for um, choosing to force, manipulate, coerce horses into doing what we wanted them to do. But I think if we want to evolve beyond that control, domination, manipulation model, we need to listen and we need to honor horses as their own sovereign nation. Like they have their own ideas of what they need to do. So for us, it's a path of humility. Can I be humble enough to just support this other being who obviously needs an advocate in our world, because they don't build the fences, they don't make the laws, they don't decide where they can and can't go. That's humans have taken over that role. So that's a long-winded answer to your question.
Very good answer. My question is, you spoke about started from what other people told you to do, and then going towards listening or respecting, or what did you need to give up for you to be able to do it?
Well, I'd say the biggest thing I had to give up was fitting in. Especially I was a professional horse trainer and riding instructor, and to say like I can't I can't do that anymore is giving up my whole identity and my whole ability to help people in the way that they wanted to be helped. I had a get together at my house after the first time I had gone to Russia and realized that I can't keep doing this. And I said, I'm not going to be doing these things anymore. And if people still want to work with me, I'm still being with horses. I'm still, it's even more fascinated with them than before. But it's just not going to involve riding or training. And one person was interested, but she was 16 and her parents didn't think that was a good idea. So she went on to other instructors. But for me, it's what I got to do. I've traveled the other path to where the top was in sight. The Olympics could have been on the plate if, I'd gotten the right sponsors and horses and all that. But, when I really questioned into myself, that's not what I was looking for at all. I'm looking for peace and happiness and harmony and truly loving and supporting them. So, another long answer to your question.
When you went into your journey, you met a lot of people along the road. What are the main lessons, or describe a little bit some of that lessons that you took from other people along that journey?
One of the first groundbreaking ideas, well, there were kind of two at the same time. Linda Kohanov's book, The Tao of Equus, and then Klaus Ferdinand Hempling's book, Dancing with Horses. And those came out, I believe, about the same time. And they were ones that focused on horses as more of a spiritual enlightenment path versus this is how you do a half halt. It was more, what are the horses here to teach us? So that struck something in me. That was like, okay, yes, this is more what I'm looking for. And at that time, natural horsemanship was the big thing. And that's where it was being sold to us that you could have this great relationship with your horse through doing these certain exercises, these games with them. So I bought the course, and I knew the trainers and did the things, but it wasn't, it had the right sound to what they were doing, like partnership and respect and all
What
that.
allowed you to sense the difference? Because in a way, you were saying it would sound like that's it.
Right.
Now you're going to be with partnership with your horses, and it's working,
Right.
and yet somehow did you was able to detect that something is missing, or that is something
Well,
beyond that.
it became really obvious when you just turn off the volume. You stop listening to what they're saying and you watch what they're doing. If they have the horse in a halter, if they're jerking it, if they have the flag, if they're scaring it, that it's just not. It's not a partnership. It's not listening. It's you do what I want, and then I'll take away the stimulus, or I'll give you a treat, and then you're still shaping the behavior no matter what beautiful language you might be using. Like, you just got to turn off the volume of all these, trainers and look at what they're doing. So the ones that I really studied and interviewed in the Path of the Horse documentary were ones that I felt at that time, we're talking 20 years ago now, were walking the talk. And since then, I would say some are more and some are less. I think I've really gone on to create my own thing called autonomous horsemanship, because I would say only really one of the others really was walking the talk of autonomy, true autonomy for horses. So in that, I learned a lot from the people that I studied and interviewed, but I've gone so much farther since then, and it's nourishing because I just know it's the truth. I don't need to fight for it. I don't need to defend it. Like, everybody's going to see this sooner or later, probably more later than sooner, but I can keep making this distinction so people can see for themselves. Is this really the best thing for us humans right now? Is this really who I want to be?
Speak a little bit about what is it like that you discovered or developed. It depends how you see it, but like you spoke about autonomy work with horses.
Yeah, really, I discovered humility. Like they have just as much right to do what they want to do as I do. And they're not saying, come get on my back. They're just not. They're saying, hey, where's the good grass? They're saying, hey, what's that possible danger over there? They're saying, hey, get away from me, or hey, come closer and scratch me here. Those are all things that horses say. And when we let them, when we want to hear that, when we want to know them as they are, they give us this beautiful gift of peace and presence and like what's real right now. So really they have the capability of leading us into the future, leading us, them leading us, with no ropes, with no uh, agendas, just that be together, and whatever happens is whatever happens.
I'm curious about the shift between being in the competitive world, which I have a background myself on that regard, to let them lead us. How can people do that path or that journey? What they need for it? How can they see it or discover it?
Well, like for example, once you really start to listen to horses, you can see those tiny body movements of like, hey, you're coming to get them with a halter. Yeah, they want to go in, but they really would rather not have that halter. So that little movement away, or you go to put the saddle on, and that little like tension, like, like if I didn't have a halter on, I wouldn't be standing here. Like, back to that, like, you really have to start to listen to them. Imagine that's your child, and your child is, and it's bad to compare them to children, but maybe it has its uses. Um, so you have to really be listening to that animal in that moment and choosing to let them have a say. Like that there's a Alexander Nevzorov, he had a saying of the horse is always right. Honor the no. And the more you honor the no, the more they open up, because then they feel safe. They feel like, oh, they're listening to me, and it's okay to say no. And that's where it just starts to deepen. But, as a if you're coming from the world of competition or typical training or natural horsemanship or whatever, you have to be done with it. You have to just have seen like where this leads. Part of it for me was, I went to these like Olympic level clinics and the top trainers, and I was a working student and all that. It's like I really didn't want that life. It's super stressful, it's super dangerous. I mean, just statistically speaking, riding horses is more dangerous than riding motorcycles. And yeah, that's certainly part of it. Like, how long do I have to keep doing this? What do I have to prove? Yeah, I see what it looks like when a person is further ahead, and that's not what I want. I want peace and flowers. I want to travel to other places in the world and hang out in fields with horses, not in stalls, forcing them to have a bath and to walk past this scary thing and into this trailer. And over these hundreds of miles. Like, it's just, you just have to be done with it. And that's why I think a lot of people still need to go and take the riding lessons. Like, do it. See what those horses look like. Do they really feel like they're having the time of their lives, or do they feel like they're just trapped in learned helplessness and going through the motions? So it just takes a certain development of the person to see, like, hey, I want something different. And that's why I'm so excited about just living my own life, because I can show people, like, hey, now I can travel the world and just hang out with horses in pastures, and give permission for other people to do that too. Like, it's okay. And it's what we need. Like, we need more time hanging out with no agendas in pastures.
Wow. About sharing, like from that perspective of work, how does it look like? Like stories of you and clients, because you're describing something completely different, and I want people to be able to feel it, see it. So a typical session or a typical practice, I don't know how to even call it.
Yeah, well, it's so guided by the moment and the person, So I have had different, basically I'll meet somebody out in a pasture with horses that I know, and I'll give some basic safety guidelines, like don't let them step on your feet. um, and then we'll walk out, and usually we'll take some chairs and go find a spot where we can kind of see the horses, but we're not like just walking up to them. And then the person says whatever they say. Sometimes they're quiet, sometimes they can't stop talking, questions about this and that. And then eventually, every time the horses start wandering closer and closer, and then all of a sudden they're here, they're all around us, and the person reacts however they react, and I'm there just to make sure they're safe and answer questions. But it's completely just different every time and guided by the moment. Like, I just stay quiet and stay out of the way for the most part, um, and let this experience unfold.
Stay quiet and stay out of the way. An
Unless,
example of what's happening when you are staying quiet and out of the way.
yeah, so say a horse has come forward and they're exploring somebody with their body, usually their head and their lips. Um, as long as I've been around horses enough that I can see in advance if a horse is going to try and bite, or if the person is going to try and shoo the horse away, and then I'll just, say something or do something or move my body so that that doesn't happen. And then I just am quiet, just letting the moment happen. There was a retreat we did here last year, and there was this guy that was co-facilitating it with me, had pretty much no experience with horses, but he was an experienced meditator, and very good at nonverbal communication. So this was maybe his third time meeting the horses, and we were sitting at a picnic table, and the horses kind of gathered around us, just standing, being. And this one came up, huge horse, and just came up behind him and just gently touched him, kind of like on the back of the head, or I have a video of it. It's just beautiful. And he's just there with his eyes closed, meditating but feeling everything that's going on. And the horse is just being, something is happening. It's in a realm that where there's no words, but it's nourishing. Like there's this exchange going on between the horse and the human that is just right. It's just like the right thing to happen. And it's beautiful to be able to witness. It's just setting the stage. And then I'm not telling the horse what to do. The horse has not been trained to do this. This is the horse expressing itself as itself, and the human expressing himself as himself. And they create this shared communion. And, I love looking at your background because there's the horse, and there's the mind thoughts, and then there's you, the human, in between. So it's really kind of a metaphysical level that this is all shifting and creating on. But inside the people that are involved there, and probably the horses, it's this feeling that, okay, this is right. Like there's nowhere I'd rather be right now. This is one of the highlights of my experience of being human.
I'm curious about that metaphysical level. Like, once you are in humility and you have respect for the horses and you come from a clean as possible space, what is opening up, or what was opened up for you in your communication with them?
Well, I mean, of course, it's all in a space that has no words, but the closest I
We will
would say
try.
is
Yeah.
right, is it's peace, it's rightness, it's satisfaction. Um, like I'm not chasing anything anymore. Like I'm like, oh, it's here right now. Ah, I'm connected, and I don't need the horse to give me anything. I mean, just them grazing and doing their thing in the pasture 5 miles away is perfect. It's um, it's like the end of seeking. It's the finding over and over again. Oh, this is even in a struggle, it's still. Well, let me give you an example. Um, So I still care for two horses in captivity, and they have a really nice life, but one of them still needs to be her hoofs trimmed because she doesn't move around enough for her hoofs to trim naturally. And she's a horse, I mean, she's part of why I am who I am these days because um, she was always really loud about what was okay with her and what was not okay with her. And I love that about her. I love that she's outspoken, and she's saying the same things that other horses say. She just says it more loudly. So you can't just ignore it. So she needs her hooves trimmed, and that's been a dance that we've been dancing for years because I am her guardian, and I do want to see her feeling healthy and happy. And she has her opinion about how long she should hold a foot up or if she should hold a foot up. Um, but in the years that we've been playing with this, like I have a peace even in the struggle. Like sometimes I will try and just hold on to her foot even though she wants to put it down. It's like, we just need to get this done. It's important. And sometimes I'll just let it down. So I can be in that dichotomy of like sometimes I'm this person and sometimes I'm that person, and but that level of struggle is so minimal in our relationship, like it's just such a little part. Whereas before it was like, well, now I have to, teach you to stand in the cross ties, and now I have to put the bit in your mouth, and now I have to do the saddle, and now we have to go in the trailer, and like everything was this moral dilemma of who am I to ask her to do this? And now it's this minimal, and that's really the only thing is how are we going to get your feet done today? Or are we going to get your feet done today? Can it wait till another day and maybe you'll feel better about it? Like it's more about um, cultivating the relationship than I have to get these results.
But where is the line? Because I was like in similar dilemma. For example, we had a mare. She was very, very, very in a resistance mode about everything. And in the place that she was, there was an EquaVibe device that vibrate.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to help her to put her on that vibrate, but
Right.
she didn't think it's a good idea. And
Right.
physically, it was a good idea. Like you cannot argue. There is research
Mm-hmm.
about staying on that thing and her arthritis that
Right.
she was diagnosed with.
Mm-hmm.
How can you know the difference between I am a guardian and I need to take care of whatever it is, and um, the
Well,
right to choose?
yeah. I mean, of course, every situation is different. So it's more about finding that space in you. Like like what else does this horse have to do? Like why does she have to get better? Like what does her living situation look like? What might be going on in her body? Um, like a lot of times for horses that have had trauma, especially that they don't want to do something because they're afraid it's going to hurt or because it does hurt. Um, I would choose to just, for example, have nothing done with their feet for, just make sure they're in a big enough area where they can maybe wear it down themselves, or, in the case of arthritis, maybe have more time out. I don't know what this horse's living situation is. Um, go to other things. And then it's interesting, but specifically with the hooves, I've tried this with maybe 8 horses now, and all of them were able to self trim, so I didn't need to trim them, except for this one that we still have to do. So it's interesting that I had to challenge my own ideas of, how much manipulation is required of a good guardian. And I've let go of most of it. Like most of it. Like I don't have to keep up on their halter training. They're halter trained. They know how to lead. Um, One has always been really good about going in trailers, say for an emergency, and another one never really learned it. So we just, put the trailer out in the pasture and put the food in it, and then now he goes in and out of the trailer. And if there's emergency, the trailer's not a problem. So back to your this mare where you you're pretty sure that this device would give her relief, but she's saying no, no, no. I would say you got to prioritize. Like, look at the rest of her life. Is this just the one thing that you're wanting her to do, or are there tons of things that you're wanting her to do and you're not listening to her no?
So there is, you are saying, even from your perspective, there is like a line of responsibility for you as a guardian, that stuff that need to be done.
Right. Yeah.
And it's always a moral question to do back and forth with yourself about what is the best way
Right.
to go.
Even with like a wound, so there's a wound. if you let it be, will nature take care of it, or do you really need to get a vet? There's no there's no answer for that. I mean, each time you do your best. And I've pushed the limits a little bit, and I've seen some amazing things happen with no intervention. Like a horse, has a cut down by their foot, and they're nervous about having you do anything, so you just wait, another day. Oh, okay, looks okay. Another day. Oh, looks okay. And then sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does get worse, and like, okay, help, and then you get help. But more often than not, the what I had been told was needed. Like in Pony Club, they teach you, oh, you have to pick out your horse's feet every day. And well, I don't know, do you? No. I found out no, that you don't. Um, so it's just in the moment, listening to the situation that's right in front of you versus what this instructor taught you or what you read in a book or saw in a video.
How does all of that affect your life, like your personal life outside of horses? Because you're describing a different space than other people is around horses.
Yeah, and it absolutely transfers to everything. So it's really allowing everybody else their own autonomy. So like I have a partner that I've been with for 15 years, and I really allow him to be himself. Like I I um and he has 4 kids, and allow them to be themselves, and to really, it's like I found my own center. I found my own source of well-being, so I don't need them to be any certain way in order for me to be okay. Does that make sense?
Mm. Sense, yes, but elaborate more about how does it look like to operate in the world with your own center, because it's a
Well,
bit general.
really, I don't get upset. I don't get pissed off at people or at anything. And people remark about this, people who know me, like, really see something different. They're like, "Why? How could that not disturb you?" It's like, well, it's not my thing. That's their thing. It sucks to be them. Um, Without disconnecting, it's not like I'm above it. Um, I'll still feel, little small reminders of who I used to be and who most people are. But it's very foreign now. It's very much like, wow, people are arguing. They're so attached. They're so needy, and it's this gift, this relief that I don't have to live in that anymore.
So less attachment.
Well, attachment to things needing to be a certain way. Like it's just is what it is. It's way bigger than I am. I really have very little control in this world, but I have a lot of control about how I perceive things and how I interpret things. So as long as I can, it's that metaphysical state. It's being, it's not detached because you're intimately attached, but it's kind of like watching a movie, like this drama playing out. Especially I see it with the kids. They have their teenage dramas and their 20s dramas, and it's also important. Um, and I can just watch it with more of this impartial perspective of Like, oh, that's sweet, or, yeah, that's rough. It's loving it, loving this gift of being able to even have these questions and opportunities for growth. That's so important, is to keep growing, keep expanding.
What do you think the horses, I don't know if to say role, because once you have a role, you have a responsibility, or how much it's something we are putting on them, but you describe the process that you did around horses that change your way of life, and I will even guess and say the people around you that you are influenced with the
Say it
being
again.
that you are in. And I'm curious if the horses have a collective purpose or a collective job for us as humanity.
Right. That's a good question. Can we pause for a moment? I just
Mhm.
need to, need to run off for a second.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. Back in action.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you would start that question again, that would be great.
Like you describe the horses change a lot for you, and you describe it in your environment. So I guess they change a lot in your environment by the influence that you have. I'm curious if they have a collective job or role regard to humanity or
Yeah, I mean, really, who knows? I mean, it does seem like they do. It's like they keep showing up for us. They're kind of, um, I don't want to say okay with how we've treated them or okay with what we're doing, because it's probably, I don't want to make too many stories about it, because I think stories and getting attached to stories is where we get stuck anyway. So I try and operate from the space of beyond the story, where I don't know, we're in the pasture together. They seem to want to come up and exchange energy, however you want to put it. Some people will have these experiences of, oh, the horse was telling me all these secrets and, my muse. And other people are just like, ooh, that tickled. you know? Um, it's, uh, I mean, I love fairy tales, and I love, um, myths and legends and all that. Um, but then I think there's a place where we just gotta leave that behind and admit it's bigger than any story we could come up with, and just come back to that feeling of, like, in myself, when I'm with them, I'm listening to them and doing my best to honor them just like I would honor another person, and not putting words in their mouth, just letting them speak for themselves.
how can you advocate for them and not putting words in their mouth? I'm extremely curious about it because, in a way, you did a movie that brought up some ideas and some changes. And you're communicating some of your work, you have a beliefs in a way.
Right. Like, for example, I would say horses are saying they don't want to be ridden. That's me putting words in their mouth. And then I'd say, try it out for yourself. Go out to a pasture with no saddle, no bridle, no treats, and just see if anybody invites you on. I mean, go for it. If there's a horse that comes up and says, hey, you know, get on, great, go for it. But that's it. Kind of circles back to where I was saying. I believe that what I've found with horses now is just the truth. That they're their own nation. That if we want to grow as humans, we need to learn to honor them as autonomous beings, let them do their thing, support them just in as far as we've taken their land. Um, but beyond that, it's like in my courses, what I do is I just teach people to listen to themselves and listen to their horses. I don't tell them what their horses are saying. Maybe I'll suggest something, or maybe, it'll seem obvious to both of us. But really, my focus is here's how you learn to listen for yourself. And then I don't know what your horse is going to tell you. Maybe that will be the horse that says, get on, let's go for a ride, without having been conditioned into this is the only way we get out and experience the world.
And how to listen. How did you teach someone to listen? Like, I want to be a better listener
Yeah, well,
to
it
myself
takes
or to horses.
it takes training. It takes training, and it's based in like mindfulness, presence practices. I hate to use the word meditation because there's so many different interpretations of what that might be, but mindfulness is a pretty safe word to use these days. It's kind of, uh, you can take a course in mindfulness and it'll teach you how to become aware of your thoughts in the moment and uh, inquire into, is this thought true? Is this, when I believe this thought, how does that affect me if I didn't believe that thought? So you can, with this mix of presence and inquiry, you can kind of shake yourself loose into, ah, okay, I've arrived here. Now I'm here. And now what do I want the next moment to look like? Because we are incredible creators. It's just we've been so brainwashed with just society, media, culture, um, that we don't even know who we are. First we're clones of our parents, and then we're clones of our partners or our boss or our environment. So who are we underneath that all? And that's the horses have been teachers, but I've also had some really good human teachers that, I was talking about. I looked at the top equestrians and it's like, oh, I don't want to be like that. There are some top people that I do want to be like, that have this equanimity, that have this impartiality, that have this grounding and connection to the the forces of good in the world. Um, so that's how you get there. Both having these exercises and having a person, whether it's a coach or a guru or a whatever, that can show you, oh, here's the steps, and here's maybe where you're getting stuck. That's the problem I have with. I have a course that's all self-directed, so I don't actually talk to the student, and it doesn't get near the results as when I'm working with people either in a group or one-on-one. Like that's where the real freedom can happen, because then there's somebody looking back at you, catching you in your stuff. And it doesn't take a lot usually, just a few weeks of doing that, and it's like, oh, okay, now I got it. I see where I was getting in my way, and I see the way out of it. And now I can do it in this moment, and now I can do it in this moment. And now my relationship is better, and now my kids are happier, and now my dog likes me more. All those changes.
So you're describing a way of using the feedback from the environment, that you are the instrument on that regard, or the host are
Mm-hmm.
showing the feedback, and then the ability to be aware, like to promote what? Promote awareness, promote.
Yeah, awareness so that you are in control of who you want to be, what you want to experience in the moment. So that's how I can um, be in peace, be in happiness, joy, more and more moments, because I can see the things that in the past might have taken me out, and just not have them take me out anymore. It's okay if the horse doesn't want her feet trimmed. We're gonna we're gonna play with that, or we're gonna leave that for another day, or I don't know what's gonna happen. But she's 22 years old now and doing fine. Like,
Yeah. And who are those people? Or because you said you have some good human teachers, and I'm curious about direction in that angle, because some people that gonna listen to it will want to go and do a research about how to be better.
yeah, it's interesting that the person that I learned the most from, I kind of don't want to mention his name. I mean, he's an active teacher here in Northern California. Um, and if people need to find him, they'll find him. Um, it was interesting. I mean, you got to look around, see, you just look at the people around you. This person I found because my dad was an engineer, and a very boring job, kind of closed off emotionally. Um, nice enough person, but just no real emotional connection in life. Um, and I went to college, and he started getting involved in this group down in my hometown where he lived, and he started just opening up and becoming this beautiful, heartfelt person. And he kept talking about this group that he was part of, that he was learning things from. And my thought was like, wow, whatever that is, that's real. I see that you're changing. This is amazing. You're my dad. I've known you my whole life, and this is a beautiful thing that's happening to you. But then I thought, yeah, well, that's great for you, and I'm on my own path. And actually, we were reading some of the same authors, like Herman Hesse, just amazing. Um, and then just by chance, the whole group moved up to Northern California where I lived, and just, I got connected with them and thought, okay, I'll check this out, and that was it. It was just like, wow, this is the missing piece. I met the teacher, and it's like he's like more like a horse than anybody I've ever met, but he's human, and he can see me and take me further. So I think it's just a chain of events that leads you to that person for you. So I would say, if you're ready for it, start with, all the YouTube videos about mindfulness, and, you know, just look for inspiration. There's another person um, that works in this field. They call him the father of mind body medicine. He's a medical doctor, but he also, I mean, he basically founded mind body medicine, and specifically hypnosis, to be able to connect to these finer states. So I was
The-
always like, wow, this guy is amazing. And through whatever circumstance, now I know him personally, and I'm helping him edit videos. Like, this is, whoa, how did that happen? So I would just encourage people to look around and follow that, whatever turns you on, go that direction.
How much do you think it had important role in your growth with horses to a different direction? Because I almost can see it as a theme around some people that I'm interviewing,
Mm-hmm.
that other modalities or other meetings with other people affected or influences the way they are communicating with or around horses.
Go back to the first part of that question again. Say that first part.
How much do you think it's affected your way of communicating or
Having the human teachers, you mean?
yep, the
Yeah,
other source of wisdom that it's not
not from the horses.
whip it or change the beat or I don't know even
Right. Um, well, certainly having the human teachers made everything progress farther faster. I think I would have still come to the same conclusion about horses that you know, it's our best interest to treat them autonomously and let them live their own lives, support them in living their own lives. Um, but with the human teachers, I got that part that I couldn't have gotten from them, which is like how to apply it throughout my life. I mean, it just took me further faster, for sure. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It was just the path of being quiet and listening, being humble, looking out for the next uh, uh, call from inspiration, coming back to that silence and waiting, and then following whatever the spark is.
wow. I think it's leading me to I don't know if the last question because I will stay with questions my whole life, but at least the last question for today. Like, what is the next call of inspiration for you?
One thing that keeps coming up that I would love to be able to do is more of somehow some sort of a story, like a story like The Little Prince, a story maybe like Black Beauty, just a story that is a vehicle for this wisdom of presence and autonomy and sovereignty between nations, um, that would kind of like go in the back door. And I imagine world leaders reading this or seeing this video and awakening to, like, oh, wow, I can just relax and I don't have to bomb the other country. I don't have to, fight my neighbor. I can find a peaceful way for them to live their life, for me to live my life. So, I want this to ripple out in a way that can affect the people that are from my perspective damaging our land and our ecosystem and our sense of security and our sense of well-being, because they just need to find it themselves, and when they find it themselves they can relax and say, it's okay, I can just make my bed today and go for a walk and you know do some work that helps others, and then come back to my family and have some good times and go to sleep and do it all again tomorrow.
I think it's amazing that you describe the Little Prince because it's kind of story that bring a wisdom that above words, with words,
Yeah.
and it's very like in tuned or in the path of our conversation about how can we bridge that gap between stuff that is undescribable in a way but important to be transferred to the world of word. And when the book is ready, you have the first reader to
Fantastic.
first invitation. I'm gonna buy it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Uh, thank you. I think it was an amazing conversation. There is a lot to take from it. And thank you for allowing that.
My pleasure. Thank you for allowing the space.
You're welcome.